Welcome to DefineURadio After Dark Conversations, where real people have unfiltered conversations about the topics that influence the way we think, feel, and move. Each week with your host, Valencia Griffin-Wallace.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and welcome to DefineURadio After Dark Conversations. I am your host, Valencia Griffin-Wallace, and I am here with my queen friends, sister / Lyvonne Copeland and
Hi.
Shannon Ward.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Okay, I hear an echo when I talk. Can y'all hear it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, I don't hear it.
And I'm not doing any editing. So if anybody, that's exactly how it goes. It's the conversation right here. Okay, before we go on to our seasonal spring break, we decided to do a reintroduction. We know we have a lot of new listeners from all across the globe. We thank you guys for all your love and support. We also know we have a lot of Define You vets who probably are wondering what we've been doing. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get this conversation started with allow me to reintroduce myself. That's me scratching or something.
My name is Queen. Oh, I thought we was getting ready to rap. Go ahead.
So, oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm going to just do it like I'm meeting y'all for the first time. That'll be the easiest way to make this work in my head. So I am Valencia Griffin-Wallace. I don't even know. I think y'all probably need to ask me questions. What's my backstory? Let me see. I guess it's easier just for me to go as far as I actually wrote my backstory in Motherless Child that you could purchase on Amazon, or you could go to valenciagwallace.com and find out more information. So I guess my backstory is I grew up like, most people, I guess. I don't know. I grew up, my mother started doing drugs. She was murdered when I was 17. During that time period, she was involved with a man that I call the devil. I'm pretty much sure he's the devil's son. Uh, my mother's brother, because that's a term I give him, inappropriately touched me, to be politically correct. I am not ashamed about that because guess what? That was not my fault. That's his issue. And yes, I put it out there, and I do, whenever I come across this man, remind him of that and that he's living only because I have other stuff to do. That's a whole other story. I have one son who I love. I am married to a man I believe is my soulmate, at least in another lifetime we had to be connected because we're so connected in this one. I have discussed previously on the show, this is legally it's my third, but I count it as a second because the first marriage I call a starter marriage that I don't count, to an abusive alcoholic, the devil's cousin. So I think definitely I'm too stubborn to quit. I've been called crack baby by family members, even though, let me add this, my mother was not on drugs when she was pregnant with me. So therefore, technically I'm not. That was a hard battle. I don't deal with a lot of my family members just because of how I think a family should treat a loved one when their sister, aunt, whatever is on drugs and the kids are too young to take care of themselves. So but through my pain, because I refuse to be a victim, even though I dealt with domestic violence, I never was a victim. I survived some, excuse my French, ish, only because I needed to write about it, because other people, what I realized later, not as stubborn as me maybe, or as strong, or think that they could get over it, or they're ashamed about it. The only people that should be ashamed are the people that offended me and hurt me and violated me. And maybe listening to this show or something of that nature, they will get one thing. If you don't want to get wrote about, don't ever try to victimize somebody that writes.
That's true.
That's, so that's all I could really think of. I mean, y'all queens know me, but for maybe the audience that's really getting to know me, what do you think they would ask, or,
What would you
Yeah.
say your greatest accomplishment from what you've gone through is?
Giving birth.
Mm.
And the reason why I say that is because, and I've said this, on a show, and I tell people this all the time, the only reason I'm here is because of my son, who will be 24 shortly. But I think that he gave me a reason. He gave me a reason, whereas before I didn't have a reason, if that makes sense. So I think once you have a reason, then you find a way. So like, kind of like if you're hungry and don't have any food, you're going to find a way to eat.
True.
But at the end of the day, you're hungry. And for new listeners, I also do use a whole lot of analogies. Did that answer the question, Queen Shannon?
It did. Thank you.
I would say for listeners that may be experiencing a similar story to what you've shared as for your backstory, that may be experiencing some of those same issues, and that are now adults, what advice would you give them of how you were able to break free of the bondage that could sometimes come with that stigma?
I would say take the victim label off. Because when you take that victim label, whether it's victim of sexual abuse, or victim of this, or victim of that, you give the what's the opposite of a victim? The oppressor,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
or whatever. You give them the power. And as long as you look at yourself as being the victim, they'll always have it. So me taking that off of me, me taking, like, I'm not the victim. I was victimized, but I am not the victim. A victim is not who I am. And you have to look in the mirror and say that. And you have to get pissed off. How dare this person victimize me? Like, you really do. And a lot of people say hate shouldn't motivate you, right? I have my own feelings about that, because I feel like to get to where you love anything, you have to hate something. I hated feeling powerless. I hated feeling like I was the victim and poor Valencia and oh my God, and this, and this. I hated that. So because I hated it so much, it fueled, that hate fueled me to get it out of me. You understand what I'm saying? Like, to lose weight, you got to hate the weight. So if I hate the weight, then I'm going to lose it, because it's something on side of that I love. Right? So the hate that I felt for being violated and victimized, and I don't like feeling powerless. It's just not my nature. And I had to do what I knew how to do, which was right. And I had to take my power back and be like, how I go, I'd rather live on my feet than die on my knees, or die on my feet than live on my knees. I had been living on my knees. Woe is me, victim Valencia, pity me, this is why this, and this. And that's no way to live. And so I couldn't allow people that victimize me to continue to keep me as a victim the rest of my life while they're just going on and I'm still in victim mode. No, you pissed me off. You had the audacity to violate me and victimize me. Let me show you what I could do with this pen and paper. And pen and paper might not be their strength. Your strength may be in singing. Your strength may be in dancing. Whatever it is, you got to do it till you cry. I cried the whole time. Cried and gained 15 pounds while writing Motherless Child.
Wow.
So where I thought I was free before, I didn't get free till I wrote it because I still had stuff in me that needed to get out. And I hope, that makes sense. Like you gotta hate that. You gotta hate the years of energy that you gave to feeling like the victim. You gotta hate whatever it did to your life. You gotta hate it so much that you're willing to do something about it.
Oh, that's good. I love something that you said was that they had to be to that place where they were wanting to own it and get it out, whether it was through a pen, whether it was through singing. But you showed how that was therapeutic in the process of being able to own their voice.
Right.
That part, the writing was you owning your voice and taking back your power. And so you're sharing with the audience that if it's singing for you, if it's drawing for you, if it's gaming, whatever it is, your creativity, however it's going to flow, you can use that as an avenue of owning your voice in order to release and moving from that place of victim to victor. I love that. So during your writing process, you talked about how it was therapeutic in that you released through crying. You maybe gained some through, I'm assuming, consoling yourself with food. Since you said
I was I was up to 2-3 o'clock banging out words on the computer, and at that time all you got is coffee and chips. It was quite interesting during that time. It was crazy because literally I had to take myself back to the time period I was writing about. So if I was writing about something that happened in the 80s, I needed to listen to 80s music to put me mentally. So it was almost like I went on a mental trip back to that time period. And eating and then writing is eating and writing they go well together. Okay. But I could say definitely, I'm sorry, babe, real quick. I could say definitely all these years later, people are still mad. And the funniest part is I don't care. So
period.
With the T. Queen Shannon.
So for people that may want to start to write and they say, I don't know where to start, or I don't know, how to get going, and what would be maybe the first 3 steps you tell them to take?
Okay, so no, like write their story or just write period?
Maybe write their story.
Okay. So the first thing you have to decide before you write the story, you have to decide, I don't care who read this. Because if you care who read it when you write it, you cannot be honest. So with Motherless Child, I didn't publish it till after my grandmother died, only because I wanted to spare her what I needed to put in that book, being real and raw. I didn't feel comfortable doing that while, she was still alive. So she passed in 2017 and Motherless Child was published in February of 2018. So you have to make sure that's for you. Otherwise, you're not really writing for yourself or who it could help. You're writing based on who you won't offend. And so that would be the first thing. So once you know It's this is the truth. This is my truth. I don't care who reads it. It is what it is. Then you could go forward. The next thing I would say is just start writing. Don't worry about editing. Because a lot of times when you start writing something, as you're writing, you'll remember something. You'll remember something else. As you're writing, unless you're writing about something that's happening now, you should not be even listening to music that happens now. So, like I did, whatever time period that's very important, you need to go back to that place. You gotta dance those dances you did back then, sing along to the Keith Sweat, whatever you was listening to then, to put you in that place, so that you laugh when you need to laugh and cry when you need to cry when you're referencing that time period. And the third tip I would say is read what you wrote out loud. So
Oh.
if all you wrote was a chapter, go back and read that chapter out loud. Does it make sense? Is another memory triggered from that? Because a lot of times that happens, and it'll help you fill in blanks you didn't know you have until you read it out loud and be like, wait a minute, I forgot this, and this. And that was the one thing I wish I would have did more of when I wrote Motherless Child. I wish I would have read it more, because it was things after it was published and I finally had time to really read it that I forgot. Like the incident, and I think I talked about it on the show, I'm not sure, where I bust up in a whole crack house looking for my mama. Like, where my mama at? And I was like in ninth grade. No fear, just bust up in the crack house. And I didn't even remember that incident until after I, wrote the story. But it's something that could have been easily triggered when I just talked different things about her drug habit. But definitely, please do not, because a lot of times when people come to me wanting to ghostwrite or put out their story, that's the number one thing I say, because if you care about who reads it, don't waste my time. Because for you to tell your unfiltered truth, you can't worry about who gets offended. Hence, if you don't want to be wrote about, don't offend a writer. I still got books to write.
Hashtag. That's a
For real.
hashtag.
So yeah. Again, that book can be purchased at ValenciaGWallace.com, or go to Amazon and just go to Motherless Child and put my name in, or I think the short link is bit.ly/motherless child, and leave a review and buy the book. Shoot. I mean the hard copy. And we buying the ebook. So yeah, so with that being said, ladies, oh y'all did so good. I feel new. I feel new. To add, not only did I cry writing that book, I also got mad all over again. So like there were some people that got cussed out and told off just because I was reliving memories. I'm so serious.
One of those. And another thing.
Right.
Yeah. Because let me tell you what I didn't say. And yeah. And I'm entitled. I feel like I'm entitled to tell these people off the rest of my life. As long as I'm thinking about it, I'm entitled to it. Why should I be the only one?
Exactly.
You did it.
That's true.
I'm working on me, y'all. I might not change to 60, or I may not never change.
Lord.
Queen Shannon.
So, let's see. So yeah, singer songwriter. Let me retract. Award-winning singer songwriter, national recording artist,
Boom.
author of I'm in a couple of books. Lord, let me run through them. Let me think for a minute. So we did with my two queen sisters here. We did do For a Mother's Heart, which was absolutely wonderful. Um, We also Through the Valley was a fabulous one. I can't go into
Yeah.
detail on all of that one. That one, even the experience of that one took me through a lot of healing. And then there's my personal book, Fly. Um, so there's the author side. There is the uh I don't know if I like speaking, but I don't know that I would classify myself as a speaker. But I do love to motivate people and get people on a path of self discovery and self love and healing and all of those things. Um, I am the mother of one son, um, who's a preteen currently at this time. So anybody that knows what preteen boys do, y'all please keep me in your prayers. Um,
Long times in the shower.
oh
Go ahead.
Jesus, please don't make me think about it.
Mm-mm.
Let's see. I am the middle child of 11 children, so that was an
Ooh,
experience growing up. I mean, I'm right smack in the middle, five older, five younger.
wow.
Um, let's see. And actually, I was in a group with my brothers called Transparent with three of my brothers. We were a inspirational slash gospel group. Um, absolutely loved every part of that. Absolutely loved it. Oh Lord, when you have to go back through all the stuff, it's something to think about, isn't it? Um,
Mhm.
I've done some acting. I do love stage plays, so I've done some of that, but that was years ago, even before I had my son. Um, how did we forget? We've also done some personality interview. We've been media personalities. That's the word. We've done some interviews on some red carpets at movie premieres. Um, yeah, yeah, Valencia, Queen Valencia, I'm with you. It's easy if y'all just ask me questions.
I know, huh? It's because it's
It's easier that way.
so. I'll kick it off as the baby sister of this group.
Hmm.
Um, why? I just had to throw that in there. It has nothing to do with my question. If you look at the moment where you shifted,
Hmm.
um, what's the first moment that come to mind?
Um, if the first moment when I shifted as far as what?
Just any whatever comes to mind first.
Um, the moment I shifted, was when I would have to say it was one day, probably like 2015. This was a major shift for me. There had been things happening for a while, but a major shift took place around sometime in 2015. Um, I was actually sitting in church. No, this was before 2015. This had to be about 2000, maybe 10, because my baby might have been 2 years old. Um, and I don't know. I think I've told you ladies this story, but it had gotten to a point where there were so many things that had continued to happen in my life, and I was really just kind of like over it. Um, growing up in church, my grandfather's a bishop, my mother's a pastor, all those things. So growing up in church, you're taught that, you know, God ordains certain things, and these things come to make you strong. All these kinds of things that you're taught, and nothing's wrong with it, but you get to a point when things continue to happen, and you're like, okay, well, God, I don't need you to keep trying to test me to make me strong on this same stuff right here. I'm
Mhm.
over it. Like, I'm over it. You don't care about me, so I'm over it. Clearly, you don't care.
Mhm.
I was at a point where I really felt God did not care about me. God didn't hear me. God could care less about what was going on with me. I was nobody. And I had written out my suicide note, detailing everything. I wanted my son to go to my parents, although his father's still alive. I wasn't kind of trusting that he was gonna be able to handle him on his own. So I wanted my parents to have my son. Um, because the way I felt about it was, and a lot of people, well, no, my child was the only thing that saved me. Well, some people that's for them.
Right.
But my
True.
mind said, if I can't make correct decisions for me, he deserves a better chance at life. than me.
Mm.
I felt like I would not be a good parent to him because I couldn't make proper choices for me, so I wasn't going to make good choices for him either. So
Mm.
that was where my thought was. But I written out my suicide note, and um, I was angry with God, and I don't know to this day still. Well, I mean, I know, but it's just I got up that Sunday, went to church like I always did, and go ahead on and go to church. And as I sat in church with this anger in me, I just sat there and I'm like, I'm not about to move. I'm not about to do nothing. I don't care. I don't even know why I came. This is all I'm saying in my mind.
Wow.
Um, and if and this is why I can attest to music and the drums being the soul of Black people.
Wow.
Because at the moment there was nothing nobody was saying, no one was doing it, but it was the music that was playing, and it was the drum beat that kind of like was jolting me. And as I sat there that day, that Sunday, I could hear coming from within saying, if you just say thank you,
Mm.
it's going to be okay. You'll be fine. But, me being the Taurus bull that I am, I'm not saying nothing. I wish I
Mhm.
would say thank you. Thank you for what? I'm not doing it. And it said it another time, and I'm still, nope, not going to do it. Said it one more time. I heard it one more time. And so I'm like, fine. So after the third time, I said, fine, I'll, whatever, let's see. And I just said, thank you. And after that first thank you, I felt the need to say it again. And I kept saying it. And as I kept saying thank you, I just like something inside me broke.
Wow.
And the tears just flowed, and I could not stop crying. It just kept going, kept going. And at that moment, I then heard that same voice from within say, live.
Mm.
And that's when it took that moment at that time for me hit me that it wasn't about God, not hearing me, or God not caring about me, or me not making right decisions. I was just trying to survive instead of actually living.
Wow.
So when I was able to release all of that, I could now see, okay, you need to live. You're not living. You're just here trying to survive from one moment to the next, one moment to the next. But you have to live. You're not living. So that at that moment was the whole turnaround for me. And of course, it didn't happen, just within that day or within even that year or that next year. It's continual. Every single day, even now, every single day is something different that I'm learning about living and releasing and all those things. I hope that answered the question.
Queen
No,
Shannon, you
that.
said something so powerful that I think we can just stay here for a moment, because it is something we see every day, especially coming out of 2020.
Mm,
We're just 3 months, just the fresh start of the third month of 2021. And I think a lot of people went through 2020 with that mindset that you had the revelation about, was that you were just surviving. And a
hmm.
lot of us have done that. We just survived. We're saying it. I survived COVID-19. I survived 2020.
Right.
But the point of, it's not about surviving, but living is what's
Hmm.
so important. And now, as you look back over that moment and grasping that revelation, how has that shaped your decisions, your how has it affected your parenting style, just pretty much how has it rearranged the way you do life now, compared now that you know the importance of living versus surviving?
I would say I'm a bit more strategic in what I do. Um, I do look for, well, one, I do live in the now. So my whole thought process is the only time I have is right now.
Mm.
So there is no yesterday, there is no tomorrow. All I have is this right here. So in this right here, what what do I have to give? What's within me that I can use? What am I supposed to do today? Or what can I do right now in this next 30 minutes that's going to impact me, or that's going to help me in some way, or even help somebody else?
Mhm.
Um and as far as parenting, I try, And Lord knows it's so hard sometimes in this era with the children and social media and all the stuff that's going on with them. But from parenting, I try to make sure that I raise him to be a free thinker,
Yeah.
not to be confined. Don't yeah, this is what they say it is, but here's a million other ways that it could also be as well. So check, it's a million opinions to this one thing. So think free. What do you feel about it? How do you think about it? So I try to raise him to be a free thinker, and not just a free thinker, um, to definitely always to be an individual. I mean, especially in this world of copycats, everybody wants to do the same stuff. Be an individual, live from your soul, find out what makes you tick. What is it you want to do? You know, for example, like, so, it's we call them the Three Amigos because it's my son and then his two cousins. They're all, within the same age group, and they seem to be joined at the hip. You'd think that me and my brother were their mother and father to all three of them. Like there was no other outside forces. But um, now the other two, they're kind of, they want to do the, music, rap, and all this stuff. And you would think, oh well, because Shannon, you sing, so why? But he, that's not his thing. Um, he while he loves them, and they'll do their little rap thing, and he'll sit there and he'll listen to them and whatever, but he won't participate because his thing is he's in love with science. And he does, he wants to be a scientist. His thoughts are, well, there always should be somebody to be able to create something to help people. Because, like, COVID-19, for example, kind of really just took him. Like, that's his thing. Well, why was taking them so long with a vaccine? This is why I need to be a scientist, because as soon as I'd have heard it come out, I'd have got to work on finding something to heal people. Like, so he has his own thought process, and I love that about him. He can, work on my nerves because sometimes I have to be like, son, please just go rethink all of that and come back to me later. Because he's a thinker. I'll give him that. But I try to make sure that I let him be his own person, dress how you want to dress, because so often, if we pay attention to kids today too, everybody wants the Jordans, everybody wants this because this is what's around them. But son, wear what you want to wear. Now, except for, we in Florida, it's 80 degrees outside. You will not put that hoodie on with me. You're not going to do that. But
It might be a chill in the air.
it's
Florida
no
get
chill.
cold at night.
No,
Too.
no, ma'am. I'm trying to wear as minimal as clothes as possible. You will not put that hoodie on because you're making me hot. Look at you. But but yeah.
So
It's
Queen,
crazy because that story, I know I knew it, but being that, like, I know you now, like, if I think of Shannon stories or things like that, and I knew that specific story, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, it's in Fly.
It is.
Which you could purchase on Amazon.
Or ShadonMusic.com, correct.
Period, with the T. But like, knowing you like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you know people's backstory, but you're so in the now with them, like their backstory just, it almost seems almost like a afterthought, so to speak. Like, you don't think about it. So like, y'all know my story, but that's not something y'all think about because y'all know me
right
now.
Yes.
And until you said it, like, I can't say I forgot about it because it's unforgettable, but it just was so far removed from.
Right.
I felt like it hit different this time.
It did.
Okay,
I thought it was just me
it was
being
me too.
dramatic. It was almost like hearing it for the first time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
I
felt it hit in a different way, and I don't know if that speaks to the growth from the revelation, especially if the listeners have listened to any of the previous shows that we've talked about, just our mindsets, how things have changed since 2020, it just seems like it came from a different place, maybe a more mature place. But it just hit a little different this time.
And our relationship constantly grows. Like, I couldn't picture my life with, you know what I'm saying? That almost sounds stalkerish, but
But I will say, and it probably does come from a different place at this point, because even now, like, so y'all already know, I've went through a small fraction of like a midlife crisis here recently. um so I actually, I realized yesterday that, well, today actually is 60 days until I turn 40 today. And I've begun writing some thoughts. And
Okay.
I know, prior to Corona and all that, I was, on social media, and I was active in all those. But at some point during Corona, I just kind of like, I guess the word is just faded out. Um, social media was, here and there maybe, but just not. I just didn't have it in me. And as much as I won't lie, I tried sometimes, like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And when I went to do it, something just was like, no,
mm-mm.
walk, let it be. You don't need that. And it hit me actually yesterday, um, that in 2020 I was in a dark place. And when I say dark place, I don't mean a dark bad place. I think we discussed this in one of the shows. It just hit me again, though, that dark place that I was in was more of a burial. Um,
Mm.
because there's something else
Wow.
that needs to grow in me. As I approach this 40, there's something that's coming out of me, and I feel it every day. Like, every day I can feel it more and more, just like it's coming. It's coming. Almost as if, at age 40, I'll be at 40 weeks of giving birth to something.
Mm.
And so that might be why it feels like it's coming out of a different place now, because there's, and although age is just a number, because time in itself, that's well, I got my whole thought process on that is different than most
Man-made
people.
construct.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Um, so, exactly, it is a construct. So it's just 40 times that I've been on this planet, that it cycled around the sun. That's all that means. Um, but living in this world that we've lived in, certain numbers, we still understand that numbers mean something. And it's just, I guess at this point, it's like, okay, there's something. You're 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 about to give birth. You're giving birth. How y'all know how when you getting ready to give birth, and you get into this cleaning mode, you get into this getting everything prepared mode. You're kind of placing stuff in the way, you're moving stuff, getting rid of stuff you didn't need, and everything to make sure that when you get ready to have your baby and you come home from the hospital, your home is ready to openly receive and accept you. That's kind of where I feel like I'm at. So 2020, for anybody that's listening, that's known us and known me, that's where I've been. It's not, well, she's not doing anything. Oh, I've been doing. I just haven't been, I guess I haven't been released to share and open yet.
Mm.
But it's coming. I can tell y'all, it's coming. I can feel it. I mean, I
Wow.
feel it heavy. The dreams are ridiculous. Every night I got a book with 3, 4, 5 pages of different dreams that I've just been having. And they're very, vivid and real, and they all speak to, it's kind of the same, but then there are certain parts that's different.
Mm.
So that might be why it came from a different place this time, Queen Lyvonne. It's just, I guess it's that extra growth coming along, that extra,
Wow.
understanding of me and what I'm dealing with.
That's why I love you. And the 40 to 40 will not be televised.
Yeah, at all. At all.
No.
That's
There's nothing
my
there that anybody needs to know about.
Nothing.
I'm just saying. So if I disappear,
Lord have mercy. I'm not even gonna even entertain her with that right now.
Ah, of course, that is not the end of this wonderful show that we did, but you're just going to have to stay tuned for part 2. So until next week, you know what to do. Like, love, share the show, and of course, follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
You have been listening to DefineURadio After Dark Conversations. If you learned something, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your friends, family, and foes. Make sure you go over to DefineURadio.com and subscribe for monthly giveaways and more.